Most sports coaches make absolutely terrible content. And fortunately enough for you, I've worked with over 300 sports coaches, helping them grow their coaching businesses online by using social media to attract their ideal types of athletes so that way they can actually impact more athletes, make more money, and live a life of better freedom. If this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online consulting company helping sports coaches actually grow their coaching businesses online after scaling my own online baseball coaching business to north of $250,000 in less than 1 year. And in this video, I'm gonna give you a very simple framework that you can follow when it comes to actually making content as a sports coach. Because let's be honest, most sports coaches, they got into coaching because they like helping people. They're not trying to be an influencer. They're not trying to spend a whole bunch of time editing, okay? So in this video, I'm gonna give you a very simple framework to follow so that way you can actually make content that is authentic to you, to attract the types of athletes that you wanna work with, and you can actually use it to build your business rather than just trying to get super famous, okay? So this framework that I've developed is actually called the 3P framework, okay? And so the first P, number one, that we need to understand is that there are some principles of content that we've seen are super important when it comes to actually trying to grow your online coaching business, okay? Because you might see a lot of people out there who are like influencers and they get paid on brand deals and stuff like that. That is not what we're about, okay? We're trying to attract online coaching athletes that will actually sign up for our program and get results, and we can help them change their lives, okay? That is what I'm in the business of. So we're not trying to, become an influencer or anything like that. So keep that in mind throughout this entire video. The first thing that I always like to tell people is you need to be authentic, okay? And the reason why you need to be authentic is because you don't want to build a social media or build a brand presence that is anything but you, okay? Because you're going to be super exhausted if, let's say, you do build a business and it is successful and you have convinced the entire world that you're something that you're not. And I've seen it happen before where they are inauthentic on camera and they get super burned out. And I literally have done this in the past where I'm trying to be somebody that I'm not. That's why I make videos like this, because they're super easy for me to make. They're dense with value, and I can be pretty relatable during these videos, right? You can actually see how I actually am. This is how these whiteboard videos are, how I can do this for an extended period of time, okay? And so because of that, we need to be authentic, okay? Number two is that they need to be valuable, okay? So when I say valuable, you might ask, well, what's valuable? So the number one litmus test on value that I typically like to use with all of our clients is can somebody else say what you're saying right now? If the answer is yes, then it's not as valuable. If there are less people in the world that can say it, then it's more valuable. If you're the only one in the world that can say it and it applies to a lot of people and helps them get a big level of result, then it's super valuable, okay? So I always like to tell my clients, be authentic and then tell valuable stories. Tell stories and give game that only you can give through your own experiences, okay? Because at the end of the day, we're not just trying to post content that is not valuable. Like if you're giving away free stuff in your content, which is typically what we teach, not necessarily give away the entire farm, but basically tell people exactly what to do, right? And then if they want custom one-on-one help, then they can come to you for that. So we need to be as valuable as we possibly can, because a certain percentage of people are going to want to pay you to work with you directly and get your direct feedback. That's exactly why I make these videos as well. I'm trying to give you as much sauce as I possibly can to where a certain percentage of you guys watching are going to be like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I want to work with him. I want to see what he knows. And a certain percentage of you guys are going to want to pay and join my coaching program. And if you're interested, you can check out the link in the description. But a large majority of you are just gonna watch these videos and get a ton of value. Some of you guys are gonna do absolutely nothing with it. You're just gonna overload yourselves with information. Some of you guys are actually gonna take action on it and get results for free. That's awesome, right? But I wanna make sure that all of my content is authentic and it's valuable. The third thing is that your content needs to be targeted. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. This is probably, if we're talking about like actually having success, like leading, like views directly correlating to athletes signing up for your program and seeing a real monetary return from this, how targeted you are is probably the most important thing, okay? The reason why is because the more specific we are in what we say, Meta's algorithm is so good. Instagram is so good at being able to put out words out there into the Instagram algorithm, and then it's gonna place it directly in front of the person who it's most likely to have a good experience with. So if you know that like Meta literally has like alien level AI technology placing your content in front of your exact type of athlete that you want to work with, if you're super targeted, right? And if we're super targeted, we're authentic, and it's super valuable, then we can just continue to make this content forever, because at the end of the day, we don't want to make a business that is going to be so short term. We want to be able to do this for an extended period of time, and that is why we want to be authentic, we want to be valuable, we want to be targeted, okay? So that's the first P, is we want to follow these 3 principles, okay? The second P is that we have to understand the purpose or the purposes of content, okay? So a lot of people, when they first start making content, they just start posting a bunch of videos, which is good, right? You should be taking action. You should be trying to, just use the spaghetti tactic, throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I'm a huge proponent of that if you're not gonna work with somebody and get direct one-on-one help, because that's gonna be the quickest way that you're gonna learn on your own, right? But you need to understand that there are really 3 main purposes that you need to keep in mind when you're making your content. And if any of your content does not serve one of these 3 purposes, it is a waste of your time, okay? The first thing is attention, okay? Attention is so incredibly important, right? Let's say you're the best coach in the entire world. Let's say you're the best baseball coach in the entire world, right? You help people get a ton of results in your local area. Or let's say you have 1 athlete. If nobody knows who you are, how many athletes can you really help? How much of an impact can you actually have, right? That's why attention is so important. And so we need to keep in mind when we're trying to make this content, how can I get the attention of my ideal athlete? And what we've seen, I'll even give you guys this game, is like, if you see those like, B-roll videos, and by B-roll, I mean like it's a clip of like a major leaguer, or, I have a soccer client who uses clips from like his own playing days, things like that, right? But like clips of high-level athletes doing the skill or performing the task, and then writing in the caption and breaking it down. I've seen those videos absolutely crush, okay? And what we're doing there is we're getting the attention of the types of athletes that we want to work with. They're going to come to our page, okay? Once we've captured their attention, then we want to build their trust, okay? We want to build trust. So, for example, let's say this is the first video you've ever seen of mine. You probably don't trust me at all. You probably are like, who is this guy? I don't know if this even works. Is online coaching a scam? Can this work for me? Like, look, I get all of those things because I'm a brand new stranger to you. Okay, if you've been watching me for a while and you went through my program, then you came to one of my in-person events, then you joined my upper level program, then you came to another one of my in-person events, and then you called me last week and asked me a bunch of questions. Think of how much differently you're receiving this message right now, right? It's because of trust. It's because of trust, right? And the only way that trust is going to be developed is through, number 1, letting people get to know who you are. Number 2, providing them with value up front. And then number 3, solving their problems for free, okay? So these types of this type of content could be like carousels where you're showing them like, hey, here's a drill progression. And if you don't know what a carousel is, it's like one of those swipe posts, okay? Or maybe it's a reel where you're explaining a specific concept to them. Or like I have a client right now who went to the University of Oregon and is a pitcher, and he's like, yeah, like this is how you can play D1 baseball. Or like this is the realistic velocity that you need to be like a power 4 pitcher, right? So that is something that is valuable, and he's speaking from a place of authority because he actually did it, and that is what's going to build the trust, okay? The third thing, and probably the least important, if you don't have the first two dialed in, is conversion. So a lot of people, when they first start posting on social media, I even see this with my clients, right? They make every single post like, DM me to join my program. It's like, yo, they got no trust and nobody knows who you are. So you're asking nobody or a few people who don't even believe that you can help them to reach out to you. And they're like, why am I not getting more DMs? It's like, nobody knows who you are, nobody trusts you. That's why. So if we have plenty of people who know who we are and they trust us, then we can start asking them to do something, right? And typically what that's gonna look like is if you are X type of athlete struggling with Y problem and wanna get Z result, just like I helped these list of athletes, then DM me blank and we'll have a conversation to see if I can help. You can literally use that script like almost word for word. And like if you're watching this right now and you have a couple thousand followers, even like 10K followers, 20K followers, and you literally just use that script and then like watch the other stuff inside my YouTube videos, like you will get tons of online coaching athletes, but you need these two first, okay? We need attention and we need trust. Then we can convert, okay? But we need to understand that there are really three purposes of content. And yes, it can be all three, right? It absolutely can be all three. You can get creative. And the more you see stuff on social media through this lens of like, let's say somebody is actually trying to sell something through their Instagram, you will see that they are trying to play into one of these three things, okay? Now, the third P, now that we know there are principles to follow, there are specific purposes for each type of content, we need to come up with a plan, okay? So the number one way to come up with a plan is to identify what is the bottleneck, okay? What is the bottleneck? Okay, so a bottleneck, if you guys think about like a bottle, right? A bottle is shaped like this. Like let's say this is, a bottle right here. And, out comes water, right? This is the bottleneck because it is constricting the flow of liquid, right? It is constricting the flow of the liquid. It's the exact same thing when it comes to what you're doing on social media or really anything in life, right? So if we take that exact same, I'm gonna show that exact same illustration. If we take this exact same illustration and we understand that first we got to get somebody's attention, then we got to build their trust, then we can convert them, okay? So let's say people are DMing us all the time. They're like, wow, I love your content. This is so great. I love your story. Every single time we get them on a call or like we ask them to DM us, we convert them into a call and they join our program because we have so much trust and we're so dialed in on the conversion, but we're only signing up like a couple athletes a month. The biggest bottleneck that you have most likely is attention. And so in order to sign up more people into your program, you need attention, right? And this process will typically ebb and flow. So if, for example, you're just starting out on social media, the number one thing you need to do is obviously start. But once you start, you need to figure out how to get the attention, right? And then once we have the attention, we open up the mouth of the bottle. It starts to look more like this, okay? Where now we have attention. We got plenty of attention, right? We have people that come into my program. They've never gotten any views on social media. They figure out how to actually get people's attention. And then, boom, immediately they hit a trust and conversion bottleneck, okay? They hit a trust and conversion bottleneck. They got a bunch of people coming in, right? They got a bunch of people coming in. They get 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 views a post. Like this is not uncommon for people inside my program, right? They start getting a ton of attention, but they start messaging the people that come in, or people message them, and they try and ask them to get on a call, and they're like, oh no, like I'm really not that interested, or whatever, or they just go ghost, or they're like, how do I know this isn't a scam, right? A bunch of different types of stuff. It's because trust now is the bottleneck. Trust is the bottleneck. And so when we understand that trust is now the bottleneck, that's where we pour all of our focus onto, and we go, how can we build more trust with our audience? What do we need to do? Do we need to show them more proof that we've worked with enough athletes? Do we need to give them more free value? Do we need to let them know who we are as a person, right? Do we need to tell our story? And those are all things that we can think about. And then eventually, it's almost never, the bottleneck is almost never conversion, right? But we do have this one client who has like a couple 100,000 followers, and they have a ton of attention. Every single time they post, their post pretty much goes viral. They have a ton of trust because they gave away so much free value for 2 years before they launched their offer. Their problem is that when you land on their page, you barely even know that they have a coaching program, right? Maybe they have something in their bio, but like they don't really have very much on the page to show people, hey, I actually have a program. Here's how you can learn more about it. And so the biggest unlock for them, right? Because last month, I think they booked like 20 or 30 calls. And in the last week, they've been booking 3 calls a day, which is they're on pace to book 90 sales calls in a month. And at their current conversion rate, that's 30 new athletes in a single month, right? And this is like on a $2,000, $2,500 offer. Okay, so you could do the math on that, right? And the biggest change that we made was literally just asking the audience more. But this is somebody with 200,000 followers who already has a ton of trust. Now we can just ask more. But if we ask too much, then we're not going to have enough trust and we're not going to have enough attention coming in. So we need to still focus on the holistic thing. So if you stuck around to the end, you're going to get a little bit of a bonus right here, okay? So you need your content distribution, okay, typically to look something like this. If attention is up here and trust is here and conversion is here, okay? For the average person, we're probably gonna wanna put 35% of our efforts on getting attention, okay? At least, yeah, that's probably good. 35%, 1 out of 3, let's say, okay? Then building trust, we're gonna wanna put at least 55% of our efforts on building trust. And then that only leaves 10% for conversion. Why so low for conversion? Well, this will do like the majority of the heavy lifting to make the conversion easy, right? You want to think about your social media audience as a cloud, right? It's a cloud that we need to continue to fill up. And then as we're filling it up with more attention, we're getting more, water into the cloud. The trust is like pumping it up, is making the cloud bigger with what it already has. It's saturating the cloud. Then when we say DM me if you want to learn more, we're compressing that cloud and squeezing all of the water out. And it's like one big fall. So if we're posting frequently, let's say 7 times a week, 14 times a week, 21 times a week, you can start asking more. The more frequently you do these 2 things. But if you post 3 times a week, you can only ask like, one out of every 3 weeks, not even. So you need to be consistent, you need to post regularly, and you need to fail forward. But the most important thing is that you just need to start, okay? So hopefully you got a ton of value out of this video. If you want my help directly, one-on-one, and to work with my team and be in a community of 100+ other sports coaches who are probably way more successful than you online, so that way you can actually go way faster and get the shortcut, then you can click the link in the description, check that out. If not, if you just want to continue to learn from my videos here on YouTube, I got tons of videos that you can learn from, whether it comes to how to actually market better, how to run ads, how to convert better, how to build better programs, or if you just want to hear my client success stories and hear what's working for them. We got all that on this channel. Either way, hopefully you got a ton of value out of this. Catch you next one. Peace.